welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. On behalf of OTC Markets, we are very pleased you have joined us for the second day of our Precious Metals and Critical Minerals Conference. The next presentation of the day is from Collective Mining. Please note you may submit questions for the presenter in the box to the left of the slides. You can also view the company's availability for one-on-one meetings by clicking Book a Meeting. At this point, I'm very pleased to welcome Ned Jalil, Chief Executive Officer, and Eduardo Cervantes, Vice President of Corporate Development and IR of Collective Mining, which trades on the NYSE American under the symbol CNL and on the TSX under the symbol CNL. Welcome, Ned and Eduardo.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning and afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Before we begin, I'd like to direct your attention to our forward-looking statements disclosure. Today's brief discussion may include some forward-looking information regarding exploration, project advancement, and other catalysts. So as always, please refer to our public filings and our full corporate presentation on our website. With that, I'm very happy to introduce to you Collective Mining. As Greg mentioned, we're dual listed on the New York Stock Exchange American and the TSX under the same symbol, CNL. Our flagship asset is the Guayabales project in the Department of Caldas in Colombia. The project is anchored by the Apollo system, which is a polymetallic high-grade gold, silver, copper, and tungsten system. And with that, I'll hand it off to Ned Jalil, our Chief Executive Officer, who's going to walk you through the scale of the opportunity and the progress we've made and some of the key catalysts ahead. Over to you, Ned.
Thank you so much, Eduardo, and good morning, everyone. Welcome to our presentation. I like to start with the team, and I'm a big believer that great teams create great companies, and great companies create great values for shareholders, investors, stakeholders. And with that, I want to bring to your attention that Ari, Omar, Paul, and David all came from the Continental Gold story, where they successfully created $2 billion transaction to Zijin Mining. So we have a strong team that has established significant, enormous value in Colombia. Today, Zijin Mining with Buriticá mine is the #1 gold mine in Colombia. And we've combined that with global expertise in technical, project, and all the other areas. So we are very well situated to move this asset that we have today into a potentially world-class gold, copper, silver, and tungsten mining operation. Moving forward to our capital structure and analyst coverage, we are very well financed. We are in a very strong financial position, no debt. As of December 31st of last year, we had $130 million US in the bank. And one thing to bring to your attention, our share ownership. So management, insiders, and strategic investors own over 40% of the company, which puts us aligned with the shareholders. And another exciting thing that happened to us, we have been included in multiple mining indices, as you see. But one of the exciting inclusions this year is that we've been included in the GDXJ. And we are covered by major analysts across different institutions and banks. When you look at our performance so far, so year to date, we have overperformed major gold ETFs, and we are at the beginning of this great journey with Apollo, moving to Ramp, moving to Trap and Plutos and other discoveries that we are drilling this year and beyond. Let's look at Colombia. Despite all the discussions around Colombia, I like to start with saying that since 2022, 8 licenses have been granted, 4 open pits and 4 underground. What a lot of people don't know about Colombia, which is very exciting for me, is that Colombia mining is law. The rule of law applies to the mining industry. So it's not subjective like other countries. The rule of law applies in Colombia. And what is also more interesting in Colombia is that it is a mining jurisdiction. Mining has been in Colombia for over 500 years. And you can see on the table on the right-hand side that you have iron ore, you have coal mining, you have nickel, you have industrial minerals, you have copper, gold, silver across the country. So again, Colombia is a great place for mining. It requires the knowledge, but we have the knowledge because we took that from the Continental Gold days and we moved it into Collective. So we have the institutional knowledge of how do we permit in Colombia, how do we develop a project in Colombia, and how do we accelerate that process. So mining is law in Colombia, despite all the noise and the political noise. 8 licenses or permits, as we call them in North America, has been granted since 2022. And we see Colombia as the Peru of this era, right? When you look at the 80s and 90s where Peru and Chile were rising, we see now the time has come for Colombia to rise as a major mining jurisdiction. Let's move on to our projects. So we are in Caldas, a very well safe department, as it's called, a state in Colombia. So Caldas is known for coffee and mining. And what's great about our location, we have both Guayabales and the San Antonio projects. And you can see Guayabales here and San Antonio on the right-hand side. We are next to the Pan American Highway, which is a major highway in Colombia and the rest of South America. We have power line, we have access to water, and furthermore, we are next door to Marmato, and Marmato is a multi-million asset that's in expansion and construction today to potentially produce 200,000 ounces by year end. So we're very well located, close to the highway, close to the mining district, and this gives us access to also skilled labor. So zooming in on our Guayabales project, which is the prize of Collective today, I'll run you through that. So let's look at Guayabales from top view. So what you're looking at is a top view. So it's a bird's eye view of Guayabales. You can see the Pan American Highway here on the right-hand side. You can see the power line that runs along the Pan American Highway, which we're really excited about that. Imagine if you are remotely located, this would be a major capital expenditure. In our case, where we plan to put the infrastructure is right next to the Pan American and power and water and the rest of the supplies. So in addition to owning the mineral titles and mineral rights in the area of Guayabales, we have also secured the surface rights, the land ownership, where we are potentially going to build the mine infrastructure, place the waste dumps, place the tailing storage facilities, and the potential camp and other infrastructure. Now, when you look at Guayabales, our main system is Apollo, which I'm pointing to now. It's in the circle, the middle of the slide. I put the pointer there. That's our main system, but it's not the only target we're drilling. We are also drilling Trap. We are also drilling Plutos this year. And as I mentioned to you, we are very close to Marmato, and this is Marmato right here. We're less than 2 kilometers from Marmato. We have drilled so far over 165,000 meters in these targets, and we plan this year to drill up to 100,000 meters. We want to grow Apollo, raise the confidence in Apollo, and also develop our future in Trap, Plutos, among other potential targets in the Guayabales camp. So if you look, remember, this is what we were looking at in the slide before. If I take that and I do a section, I slice the ground and I pull it up so I can look at it in section. We want to show you here how the underground will potentially look like. So again, the highway, just to orient you, would be on the right-hand side. That's where the highway is. That's where the power lines are. We plan to build our infrastructure next to the highway. Again, that land has been secured. And what's beautiful about the geometry, right? We plan by end of this year, so in Q4 2026, to start this tunnel, which is an exploration tunnel. And the target is to tunnel through all the way to the Apollo system. Now, this is extremely exciting for us. Why? Along the way to Apollo, we own the mineral rights. So that gives us an opportunity while we're heading to Apollo to explore trap from underground, other mining titles, Plutos from underground. So we plan to start the end of this year, Q4. We would like to advance this tunnel. It's approximately 3 kilometers. And what we would like to do is we would like to be in a position where in 2 years, potentially be at the edge of Apollo. And that lines up well with our study plan, where we plan to apply for permits in 2027, which is next year. And that gives us the potential to have the permit by end of 2028 or middle to end of 2028. By then, so by the middle end of 2028, we would have this tunnel reaching Apollo, number one. We would have our license or permit in hand, and we would have completed a feasibility study, which puts us very well situated to start construction on the project. Another very exciting item for us. This tunnel is approximately between 900 and 1,000 meter below surface. So this elevation here is what I just mentioned to you, between 900 and 1,000. Where that puts us as we develop this tunnel underground, it puts us in the heart of Apollo, which is perfect from a mine development standpoint. Why is that? So far, we've been drilling the majority of the top portion of Apollo. You can see some of the grade hits here, and we'll talk about it in the coming slide. This tunnel comes at the bottom of that top portion of Apollo and at the top of ramp zone. What a beautiful place to be. Why? We use gravity to pull the material from the top portion of Apollo into the tunnel, out to the processing plant. We hit the highest grade portion of the deposit. So ramp zone, as you'll see, and you can see here some of the hits that we recently have, but we're just scratching the surface of ramp zone, is a higher grade zone of Apollo. The grade here is significantly a step change between what you saw before and what we are seeing now, and I'll cover some of that. So the tunnel puts us right in the heart of the Apollo system, allowing us to mine the top portion of Apollo, the bottom portion of Apollo, explore along the way Pluto's trap and other targets, which will potentially add production to the potential mill that I pointed out to you. Moving on to the next slide, I'll jump in and kind of zoom in on Apollo. Now that we looked at the Guayabales camp in general, let's zoom in on Apollo itself so that we have a better understanding of Apollo. So this is a bird's eye view. This is a top view of the Apollo system. This outline in blue is the shape of that Apollo system from top, right? And you can see the heart of the mineralization. You can see a lot of these darker colors. These are the hits that we've drilled so far. So what are we looking at? Why do we want to, where are we putting the 100,000, potential 100,000 meters, up to 100,000 meters? We want to grow Apollo, number one. We want to increase the confidence to prepare for a resource estimate in next year. As you know, by regulation 43-101, we got to be measured, indicated, and inferred. So we need to upgrade to inferred as a minimum to declare the resource. So that's another target for our drilling. A third objective of our drilling is we have this hanging wall vein system, which is kind of outside the Apollo breccia, that is also very interesting for us in two ways. First, potentially it adds to the underground. What's also more exciting for us, it's actually very close to surface, which potentially could be a starter pit on top of the Apollo system. So Apollo itself reaches, it daylights to surface. So you have the potential to have a smaller pit here, but you also now have the potential to have an extension of the pit along this side. Obviously, we still need to drill it. So now, as I've taken you in the large project and I cut the entire ground, this is a slice into, look at this slide here we had before. So this A prime, we call it a section. So you slice the ground and you flip it and you look at it. Look how rich, how exciting the Apollo system is. It's a beauty for all geos that are working on this, all the geologists. It's multiple pulses of mineralization. On the top side of Apollo, kind of the crown, you have gold, silver, copper, and tungsten. Tungsten, as a lot of you know, is a critical mineral. It's very important for industrial manufacturing, and it gets into other manufacturing. It's on the critical list for the United States, among other countries. So that's very exciting for us. Below the copper, tungsten, gold, silver zone, there is a rich copper, gold, and silver zone that is right below that. The one you see, I'm pointing out to it now in kind of darker orange. And you can look at some of these hits, right? Like look at this one, for example, 19 meters, 2.7 grams per ton gold equivalent. So it includes the copper and the silver. Look at this one, for example, 300 plus meters at 3 grams per ton gold equivalent. Again, it includes the gold and silver. So very exciting hits. Now below the copper, gold, and silver, you have the gold and silver system. And then the latest and greatest is Ramp Zone. We're very excited about Ramp Zone, and I'll spend some time here on Ramp Zone. You can see some of these amazing hits. I'll just pick one of the hits. If you look at, for example, this one here, 83 meters at 21 grams, gold, 17 grams silver. That includes over 20 meters, over 50 grams per ton. So pretty amazing discovery. The mineralization in Ramp Zone has bismuth in it. So it's a slightly different style of mineralization that we have up above, which gives this rise to the higher grade intercepts that we're seeing at the bottom of the Apollo system. Moving on, I like now to focus on Ramp Zone. So I showed you how the Apollo system in the previous slide. Now let's take a slice in Ramp Zone. If we take that slice, we find this what we call the donut shape. This is extremely exciting. So this donut shape is our geologist model where the potential mineralization, the highest grade is, and it's potentially all around the breccia, all around Apollo, and it looks like this donut. We've only scratched the surface of this donut. What do I mean by that? We only drilled 300, say 400 meters, right, of Ramp Zone. We still have 1,500 meters that's undrilled. And what's exciting for people who follow us, this morning we announced these 3 holes, which confirms that the mineralization is on the western flank of the breccia. Very exciting. So in 2026, watch us. We're going to drill the north, the northeast, and continue to drilling the south. That's one thing. So drilling along the strike of the donut, and another item is to actually drill it at depth, which is still open. So in section, again, if I take this and I slice a section, you can see the donut, but in section, you can see the eastern flank and the western flank, and you can see the 3 hits we just announced this morning. If we take, remember Marmato, I told you about this multi-million ounce deposit that's targeting end of this year for production. They're planning to produce 200,000 ounces per annum. If you put them side by side, right, we're less than 2 clicks away from Marmato, right? We have just scratched the beginning of Ramp Zone. So we start at similar elevations between Ramp Zone and Marmato. They have drilled 750 meters. That gives them over 6 million ounces, and they're still open at depth. we just started drilling we just started drilling Apollo, and we've only drilled 350 meter vertically on one section of the breccia. So we're open at depth. The upper portion system has been significantly drilled, but we are going to continue to drill it to raise the confidence so that we convert the top portion into a resource. Let's move into trap. Remember, I told you that we have the main system is Apollo, but we have these other targets. I want to touch for a minute on trap. Trap is exciting for us. We've drilled 33 holes, I believe, and they've all returned mineralization. The majority have returned mineralization, but we had to wait until we acquire and convert these mining titles convert these applications into mining titles, which allows us to drill further. What's exciting for us here is that surface exploration has noted the potential for a copper porphyry gold, and we're mobilizing drills toward trap as we speak, and please follow us as we continue to drill trap. It's very exciting for us. And what trap has the potential to add additional incremental ounces to Apollo, and it's along the way to Apollo, so potentially the mining will happen in both Apollo, trap, other targets, and that goes to the same centrally located mill. To wrap this, so we have all the mining titles where we have our discoveries. We have acquired the surface right where we put our we will potentially put our infrastructure, the mill, the waste dump, the tailings dam. We're kicking the can on studies as we speak. We are raising the confidence in Apollo in order to prepare for a mineral resource estimate in 2027. We've been included in the JDXJ index. We've relocated our headquarters from Canada to the US. We just started the drilling on trap, and we have started the engineering for the exploration audit or the tunnel that I showed you, and we plan to break ground by Q4 of this year. And we are also continue to mobilize greenfield exploration right across our projects, both in San Antonio and in Guayabales. Looking at 2027, again, mineral resource estimate, half of 2027, and potentially an economic assessment and development strategy in 2027. And then further delineation of the tungsten zone, as it lines very well with our critical mineral strategy, and then continue to grow and strengthening our partnership with our communities, with the social programs that we're running in Guayabales, in San Antonio, in Supia, and in Marmato, in Colombia in general. You can see on the bottom right-hand corner, QR code to follow us, and you can see our X account, and Eduardo Cervantes, our VP of Corp Dev in Investment Relation. With that, I hand it back to Eduardo to take any of your questions.
Yeah, thanks very much, Ned. We have a few questions here on the chat. Some of them are related, so I'll group them, starting with, there's a great question here. With up to 14 rigs turning, what are the next few catalysts you would highlight for the rest of 2026 within the up to 100,000 meters of drilling net?
Great question. With that, I would like to go back maybe to potentially this slide that would give us a bird's eye view, or maybe this is even a better slide. So again, we have 100,000 meters planned for this year, up to 100,000 meters. What do we want to do? Remember that deep zone, the ramp zone, the donut that I talked about? We want to hit that very hard. We want to drill around the donut as much as we can, number one. Number two, we want to drill these hanging wall veins to add to potentially potential pit on surface. We also want to raise the confidence in the material above 1,000 meters in order to prepare for a resource estimate in the middle of 2027. Does that answer the question, Eduardo?
Yeah, no, that's great. Maybe a follow-up question on the breccia outline. There's a question here that says that only a fraction of the breccia margin has been tested, including this morning's results on the western flank. But the question here is, how open-ended do you see the upside in terms of the circumference and maybe the center of the high-grade outline, and maybe at depth? What do you see the upside as?
That is a great question. Great question. So I jumped to that slide, and today we go by the drill bit, right? The drill bit tells us where to go. As we drill, we collect the core, we do our analysis, we do the modeling, and then we do the assaying, and we put that in what we call a block model, a resource block model. So what we see today is that we see this donut open as the slide shows it, along the margins of the breccia. All of that is potentially high-grade material. It doesn't mean the center of the breccia is not mineralized. A lot of people, when they see the donut and our focus on the donut, think the center is not mineralized. It is mineralized. We cross mineralization as we drill through to get to the edges of the breccia. But the grade is less, so it's lower grade. That's why we're focused on the donut shape. So that donut along the 1,500 meters, like a kilometer and a half, so more than a mile, right, is open. And then it's open at depth. So we have the potential to convert all the donut at the level of the donut, and down deeper it's open because it's an intrusive system. So we could be open 1,000 meters below this elevation.
That's great, Ned. Maybe just another question. You mentioned the tungsten angle. There's a question here. How important and how broad do you think the tungsten zone could become? And what does it mean as a broader sort of critical minerals or critical metals angle for Collective Mining?
So tungsten is very exciting for us. Today, the majority of the tungsten that we found is on the top portion of the ore body, right? As I mentioned, it's like a crown of the ore body that is rich with tungsten. We do intersect tungsten also on the flanks of the breccia. That needs a little bit more drilling. Where we're going with that is tungsten is a critical mineral, and obviously for the United States, for Canada, and the Western world, but it's also a critical mineral in Colombia. And by the way, this is the first tungsten discovery in Colombia. So it's very important for us in terms of getting this asset permitted and licensed, getting funding from the different entities. So we could get funding from the US government because we have the tungsten. We also get easier processing and support from the Colombian government, again, as it is also a critical mineral in Colombia. So it's a win-win situation for us. It is a portion of the ore body. You can see the majority of the ore body is a gold, we have a gold-silver deposit here. Don't get me wrong, but the tungsten is significant for us, same as the copper is significant for us. The majority of the deposit is gold and silver, but it doesn't mean that the tungsten is not top priority for us. So we'd like to drill it more. We'd like to understand how do we mine it and how do we process it in the future.
Great. Maybe one question sort of looking forward towards potential development. Someone asks here, how much of the long lead items in terms of social and land work do you think is effectively done at this stage? And how much do you think will be done by the time we publish our maiden resource next year?
That is a great question. Thank you so much for that question. Today we have a significantly strong geological team that's driving us and driving all this success. In parallel, what a lot of people don't recognize, we have a strong social community team that's parallel to that geological exploration team, running hand by hand. Why are we successful in Colombia, and why are we successful in Caldas? Thanks to that social team that's engaging with the mayors, that's engaging with the communities, that's engaging with the departments itself, with the businesses in the community. We invest in schools, we invest in roads. Sometimes the weather conditions are cause some damages to roads, we jump in, fix these roads, and assist our community. We're engaging with the coffee growers community, and maybe this is the first alliance that a lot of people don't recognize, where a mining company is having a strong alliance with the coffee growing and production industry. So the social programs are running full speed ahead. Environmental analysis, what we call preparation for the EIA or baseline studies, all of that has been triggered. So social, environmental data is triggered. And finally, surface land has been acquired. So now moving into the next month and into 2027, it's more about engineering, developing the studies up to the feasibility study.
Perfect, thanks. And I think we're effectively out of time, but thanks everyone for your time today. Obviously, feel free to reach out with any questions. My email is listed on the presentation. Also, you can reach us at info@collectivemining.com with any follow-up questions. And obviously, visit our website for the latest corporate presentation, public disclosure. And thanks again for your time.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day and safe week. Thank you.